The terrorists that attacked the Abuja Kaduna-bound AK-9 train on March 28 have released 11 out of the remaining 61 abducted train passengers after almost 3 months in captivity. Alhaji Tukur Mamu, the negotiator and media consultant to the cleric Sheikh Ahmed Gumi, said the 11 victims were released on Saturday. Now we have a security expert, Dr. Kabiru Adamu, joining us via Skype, to speak to us on this particular topic this morning. Good morning, Dr. Kabiru, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you and good morning.
So now 11 victims have actually been released. What does that signify?
Well, first off, that the discussion between the two sides, the event and the terrorist, reached an advanced stage, and that perhaps a certain level of trust has been achieved, which led to those number of persons. Also, importantly, it also confirms that a number of the abducted persons and by their release, often on the medical examination that would be conducted to them, it would tell us this with which they are in and how they felt. Of course, that would also give us a vision of what the others who are going through at the moment. So, on the whole, and development.
Nigerians were expecting that the government will negotiate for the release of all the captives, and then we are having a piecemeal, release of these people. How long more, do you think we have to wait for, all these captives to be set free?
Unfortunately, it appears to me that we are negotiating from a position of weakness. Simple reason that the time that the captives have remained in the hands of their abductors means there's really not much we can do beyond, going through the negotiation process, which can be painstaking, especially where you are negotiating position of weakness. It is at the mercy or the prerogative of abductors now to respond to request. So it will be really difficult to reach a conclusion on when process will be concluded. But again, significant development, whatever the terms of conditions of the release of this 11 persons, we can build upon that to release of the other captives. As someone who operates agents, what I know is that the only way you can achieve this in it would be better than what we meant, is to turn the slides in so that the pressure that were our advantages is what the other side has unfortunately been able to do that. This is a public, there's not much I can say beyond that, but all I is we should use intelligence, identify their pressure points, and use those pressure points to ensure the negotiation goes in our favor. It's pointless really to negotiate an adversary that has shown that to be brutal from an act of weakness. And this is a clear indication the time that the TIFs have stayed with the abductors, indication that our position is.
Dr. Adamu, you've said that the government is negotiating from a weak point. What do you think is maybe the government is doing wrong in the process of this negotiation?
The moment allowed the abductors to take our cities in numbers, we're not sure of numbers, but currently it's somewhere near 6 and above that. The moment we are at a weak point. We have our citizens. They have weapons, and they've shown the propensity to do weapons. So we know that if we pressure them, they, do harm to our citizens, our brothers, our sisters, our parents, and so that is what constraining us. And we have to find a way to ensure that that propensity for brutality that like I said earlier on, it has to be intelligence and the use of that intelligence. In the first place, if we wanted to negotiate from a position of, we shouldn't have allowed the abduction to take place. We allowed the abduction to take place. We also allowed them to hold their captives. It's one thing to abduct. It's another thing to stop. Then it's also another thing to be able to captives. All of these things took place. They've been holding those captives for quite a long while. These abductors will be able to hold this in these large numbers in rural space. So all of these are the right the government is negotiating from a position of weakness. In Hausa we have this saying that when you bite, you are able to bite and successful in the biting, then you are likely to do more. And so this is the situation now, definitely.
Actually said that ransom was paid for the release of these victims. Do you think it's actually a possibility? And also, what is your take on the prisoner swap, which is one of the demands of these terrorists? Do you think the government would give in to their demands eventually?
So all of these things that you mentioned are options in negotiators. When they carried it, they had in their mind to perhaps carry out. So they already have a plan, and it is that plan that they are going through. When quest, one of the things we have is that family members, children in particular, were in the hands of government. Wanted those children released. They were specific regarding the children. In fact, them. And which was and then other demands perhaps associated. Really, they knew what they wanted in terms of some. In certain instances, there may be financial runs too. Now, in a negotiation, what you do is you put forth demand, and then they put theirs, and you try to reach a compromise that is acceptable to all the parties. Now, it's true, and I emphasize this with all ability, that there are family members between 2 to 7 are in the hands of, then something somewhere is wrong. I cannot envisage a situation where government would have in its custody children ages of 2 and 7. If that is the reason why they did what they did, as a country, we deserve explanation from government. How come the ages of 2 and 7 are in the authorities? In fact, they were very specific an orphanage in Yola, in Adamawa State, where the children supposedly. I'm not aware if there has been any explanation by government allegation. I know I've heard from sources outside government that perhaps been identified in another state and moved to a location closer to the negotiation is taking place. Even the exchange of children may have led to the release of the 11, but we're not sure. My point is, these things are worrisome, and the fact that government has also kept quiet regarding those issues that have come is also extremely worrisome. Beyond the role of negotiating, identifying the triggers of identifying the reasons why the abductors were moved to, they did what they did, so that we put measures to a reoccurrence in the future is absolutely. I think we deserve to hear from government in terms of some of the issues. And recall that a couple of months ago, and a half ago, 2 months ago, the president actually did order or direct the security agencies to specifically the Railway Corporation and Importation to set up that would attend to the needs of the family adopted person. I'm not not aware that that set up, and perhaps if that center has been set up, some of that are still, very and vague to us would have been made by now.
Dr. Adamu, before we wrap up, while these captives are in custody, terrorist attacks around the country have keep happening. Just yesterday, the police in Borno, the Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, said that at least 55 ironmongers scavengers were actually killed by terrorists in the state. And elsewhere in Zamfara state, we have reports of abduction of at least 50 wedding guests. Why do you, and also, of course, also not forgetting the O attack last weekend, which led to the killing of about 40 churchgoers. Why do you think that the security problem is still, has become like one big monster in which, we are having all manner of attacks and issues all over the country? Why the spread now?
Okay, there are several. Time will not allow me to go into detail what these factors are. And just my consultancy released a monthly report, and it showed 913 were killed in the month of May 2022, which was the numbers that were killed in April 2022. In April, about 1,000 plus persons were killed, so almost about some 56% reduction. Now it's still worrisome that 900 are being killed in a month in one. These are citizens, brothers, sisters, parents of us. So more needs to be done. The reasons why the killings are happening are as a result of unaddressed. There are huge grievances. Some of them are structural. For instance, if you discuss with persons and they are interested in a constitutional, restructuring, different ramifications, frankly, and time will not allow that. Others are political. As an example, you pick Kogi State, the Galas and Ibra. If you go to between the Benue, between Idoma and Chief. And likewise, in several parts of Kaduna State, southern Kaduna, and the rest of northern Kaduna, those issues are rooted, and they provide the platform for sowing and for non-state actors and to achieve what they achieve. Others are economic, especially gap between the haves and the have-not. It also allows a huge pool by non-state actors, and then there is also a component where exclusion of certain social segments of the society also allow, and unfortunately these grievances are being state actors. The second one is climate change, inability of both the federal and state to implement measures allow the adaptation and consequences of this effect of climate change. Talk about, for instance, the receding, like how it's affecting, and then of course also allowing certain elements within the society to be vulnerable. Crime, like we're seeing in the northwest, the desertification, it's pushing both farmers and hard move into the south and affecting in a manner that is driving conflict and proliferation arms and light weapons, drug addicts, porous borders, the ineffective criminal justice system that is failing to offenders. Name them. So these are that allow insecurity to trap. One I will mention is perhaps stability within the governance, especially as it affects the security sector. Talked about 900 plus persons being killed. Before then, about 1,400 being killed. I'm not aware that one single person within the security has been held accountable to those. You talked about the killing in Zamfara yesterday, or rather, it was actually in Sokoto State, between Bakura and I'm not aware that anyone has been held accountable. Abduction, the train abduction that in March, I'm not aware that one single has have been held accountable, or even government of the service, the railway corporation, the ministry of education. So name them classifications of government department. Impunity happens, offenses, people drop the ball, incidents, people are killed, but not one person is held accountable for it. So that, in itself is a contributor to the insecurity. You start holding persons accountable, then the persons who will come to replace them will know that if they drop the ball, they are likely to, face certain consequences. They will sit up. It's a very simple reaction and element of money. But because we don't do that, things ought to happen at the rate they're happening. The security sector is one of the sectors within governance that lacks money evaluation. Even though they would argue, those institutions within them, that they have internal mechanism M&E. But in my honest opinion, internal mechanisms are not working. And I've just given you this. You are a journalist. If you know of instances where security officials have been you can tell me and the whole that's listening.
The security expert, Dr. Kabiru Adamu, joining us all the way from Lagos via Skype. Thank you so much for your time.